Hi everyone, welcome back to the Social Hotelier podcast with me, Sam-Erik. Has luxury hospitality lost its authenticity in the pursuit of growth? In this episode, we will explore the shifting landscape of luxury hotel brands as boutique hotels expand into major cities, in charm of authenticity being sacrificed for growth. It actually begs a question. And also looking at the big players, the giants, the five usual suspects that has grown from maybe 5 brands to 45 brands, and we are a little bit confused and the consumers and the development people are a little bit confused. What do they stand for? Well, I'm very thrilled. I have an excellent guest to discuss this matter, and it's Abdul Baaghil. He is the co-founder and principal of Harvest Cottontail Hospitality Group, and the firm is specializing in luxury turnkey solutions for hotels, restaurants, and food retail. Abdul comes with a 20-year global experience in the hospitality industry. His work focuses on integrating authentic cultural experiences into luxury hospitality, with projects spanning in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. So welcome, Abdul, and thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Sam, for having me too.
So where are you located at the moment?
I'm currently right now actually on a remote area called Siwa in Egypt. We're putting up a 40 key locally authentic, complementary to the Amazigh culture, a boutique hotel. Sorry.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that's great that we are able to connect while you're on location and with your project. And so, could you just share a little bit with your company why you formed Harvest Cottontail Hospitality Group, and how has the journey been when you were in the corporate world until you started your company?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was a hotel manager with the Ritz Carlton Hotel Company, and then I was a hotel manager with Fairmont Hotels and Resorts, and then I was acting general manager for a little while. And then I went on to become the managing director and consultant for Cambell Gray Hotels in Beirut. So I directly worked together with himself, Gordon Cambell Gray. And at that point, I felt that going into that type of a hotel, I realized that I wanted to do something very different, probably just run a collection of hotels. And I was offered this opportunity by Challenger Limited, formerly known as Challenger Limited, now known as Tap Oil. They had a subsidiary of a number of luxury boutique hotels in Africa, in Morocco, in Egypt, and in Mozambique. So I was appointed as the CEO of that group, and the duration of 5 years running that and developing it from 1 property to 7 properties, I felt confident that I can go on the journey of running my own business as an entrepreneur and be true to myself and my values. And it's something that I've always been passionate about, is to curate and create hotel concepts that are authentically local, complementary to their culture and environment. So I took on the opportunity given, and I started Harvest Hospitality Group. And we started that group in 2016 together with my business partner, Bruno Contreras, and it's been an exciting journey. But I'll be very frank with you. Throughout my career, I've also been a little bit of a rebellious. I never liked to wear a name tag. I didn't want it to be part of a whole entire uniform system. And I always had these independent ideas, independent innovative approaches when I was working in hotels. And then, in fact, I was never part of a club. I always stood out on my own, and I looked at things in a different perspective. So I knew it at one point that I was going to leave. I'm not gonna stay longer on this road or journey of the corporate world.
Yeah. Well, that's very good. I mean, I think you seem to be really fit to run your own through the vision you have and your own company. So it's very good. And how did I mean, just looking at the situation with running your own company, how were you affected during the COVID? Did that have an impact on your business at the time, or?
Oh, absolutely. I think the hotel project went to a halt, and we kind of everything was put on hold in terms of the developers of the hotel properties. in terms of restaurants equally. We don't run restaurant. Back then, we didn't run any restaurant. So the only thing that was going on for us was the private label that we do for luxury food retails, mainly in Europe and the Middle East. And it was an ongoing process of further developing products, over 3,500 products for these private labels that are branded within the retail name itself. And that went on very well. It was an engagement contract for us, and it went on very well for about good duration of the pandemic, and that's when we actually launched it. And we launched it 6 months before the pandemic, and it's been a great success for us. And we're still on the private label luxury food retail business. We're still on that road together now. We've grown from one brand to four brands.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Well, that's good that you kind of diversify your offerings in a way.
Oh,
Then.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I read quite often about your posts, and particularly in LinkedIn, and you're sort of a observer and frequent commentator of the state of luxury hospitality companies, and yeah. Now I realize you're a little bit of rebellion, and that's good. I mean, we have to give up. We have to say how we see it, and that's very important, because to keep things in relevant to what because there are many companies who are thinking they're doing a great job, and I'm sure they are, but also has created some confusement in consumers the way things have been developing. So can you share a little bit your thoughts and speak about how the influx of major acquisitions by hospitality giants, I'm talking about those five usual suspects, affected the authenticity of luxury and lifestyle brands? Have you seen there any effect, or do you think they are doing a great job?
Well, I personally think, look, doing a great job is it's something that I look at differently. I personally think that in recent years, when at one point we only had these traditional luxury hotels, we had the budget properties, and then you have the deluxe properties. So it was a range of 7 or 8 brands, and they've grown into the boutique lifestyle, the boutique budget, and all that. And the reason is major for the major giants is pretty much, market share and financial rewards, at the end of the day. But the key question you've asked me is authenticity. I think it's important to see that, a person that runs a Marriott, or a person that runs, I don't know, JW Marriott or Ritz Carlton, I don't see it fit as culture. And I'm talking about cultivated culture running an addition or an SLS. I'm just throwing out a few names, is just because I think it's more than just a design of a property, or whether it's hip or lifestyle. I think culture is key. And the human capital culture is very key to maintain the authenticity of the brand. There's a brand culture, and that brand culture is not only in the brand values and philosophy of the brand, it's the brand culture that counts most. And that culture is in the design language, it's infused in the human capital, is they breathe it, they live it and breathe it, and it's in the day-to-day culture of the property itself. So I don't think that giants have really sustained that, and that's why we're witnessing a blur between what luxury is and lifestyle is today. So if you look at all the properties that are coming up in terms of the number of developments and that have opened in recent years, luxury versus lifestyle, there's a blur. I mean, you cannot identify what is luxury now and lifestyle is now. So we fall in that pit is because of the giants continue to further develop these properties, but they don't have the key players that can play the role of running a proper lifestyle hotel or a luxury property.
Okay, so when you talk about culture, you're referring to they are in a particular community, which is maybe in the say if it's let's say in Egypt, and there's one area of Egypt, and you put in a luxury property there, and then you study and understand the community and the culture, and then you infuse sort of luxury aspects which actually fits into the location and the community that they're part of. Is that how you see it, or how would you do it?
No, that's one thing. That's only one element of the whole entire spectrum, one element of the formula itself. So the other thing is, there are they're individuals that are built for a certain brand. You can run a Four Seasons, you'll always be a Four Seasons person, and that's how I'm going to form it in form of communication. But there is, and when I say culture, I mean culture of the brand, not the country. So
Okay.
the or the destination. I mean the culture of the brand. Culture is key. We live in times where culture is paramount in anything we develop. So when you have a brand like Edition, you have a culture of Edition. So you will have someone that fits that culture as an individual. So not necessarily you'll not necessarily be a Four Seasons or a Ritz Carlton or a J brand or a Peninsula gentleman. There is someone that fits that culture. So we need to look at that culture and further cultivate of the culture of the brand through its growth process and authenticity through people. So again, there is the design language there, the physical part of it, but there is the intangible part of it that needs to be nurtured, and it will be all nurtured through the human capital.
Okay. Is that part of the DNA of a brand then?
Oh, 100%. It's part of the DNA of the brand, but I think, it needs to be felt. People feel it's the emotional connectedness that counts, and the culture of the brand itself will be felt through all the touch points throughout the property is through the individuals that you have on board, whether it's running the property or the human capital. But additionally, other than that, there is the culture of the brand, which needs to be lived in or lived with or lived by every day in the property.
Yeah.
And I don't
So
think, and I
could
personally think giants are not able to deliver that.
Yeah, yeah. Could you speak a little bit then about the elements that makes a brand special in terms of reflection of that, how you see the DNA of a brand? What makes it special?
Well, one thing is, I think when you curate a culture of a brand, it is founded on the fundamentals, which is the values, the principles, and the philosophy. And there onwards, you build on the culture of the design itself and the design language of the property itself, which is later on going to mirror all the other little details, which we call in brand culture, whether it's in food, whether it's in experience, whether it's in different parts of the property. And then again, it's added to the human capital, whether it's in their uniforms and the way they speak, the way they talk, the way they communicate, the way they emotionally connect with their targeted audience or customers. And then all this becomes into one culture, and that culture needs to be sustained through the process, and it needs to be continuously curated and further developed, that it is in a full-fledged spectrum where you see this property has become a brand that has culture. Look at it from a human standpoint, right? I mean, you have a person that comes from America, someone comes from the Middle East, someone comes from Asia Pacific. Everyone has his own culture. It's humanized. So you humanize a property, and when you humanize a property, you give it that culture. And that culture, you can look at it from the way people behave in the property, the little details in the design language, and the experience itself, and the food, etc. And that's what's key. But the key here, you're asking me a question which is vital to the process: is are the giants able to sustain that? I think Accor, to a certain extent, is doing pretty well with that. It's more, but I think others are not. But again, we're
Okay.
throwing up these billboards with marketing splash, and we have all these names and promoting properties left and right and saying it's lifestyle. But where are the deliverables in terms of experience and culture?
Yeah, yeah. So, is there a position like a chief cultural officer who would have to dig into all those things to make sure, or how does it work?
Well, I think you have it in certain hotel companies. You have a chief cultural officer, but you do need a cultural. You want to call it name it a cultural officer or a cultural ambassador, however you want to call it.
Yeah,
But there has to be a person or a cultural department with the head of the department driving the culture through communication, through marketing, through spirit, through experience, through uniforms, through the little details, touch points. It's important to have that because it's critical in this day and age where many discerning travelers are looking at they want to connect. They want something that resonates with them. So
yeah.
I think it's just important to have that, and some companies do it. But again, the question here is: are the deliverables in place? No, it's not. We hear them, we see them, we witness. No, we read them, we hear about them, but are they? Do you actually connect with these deliverables when you are in the physical property. Now it's not.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. How do you go about it in your group when you come out? You have a property and you have or a project. How do you go about this to so it fits into when people arrive as a customer one day, they really feel that the sense of place that they have right to one particular location that relates to the culture.
Oh, that's an excellent question. Actually, we have processes we start with. The first thing we start with is brand and brand culture. We look at the location. We see what the potential developer is trying to put up as a property. We here to we spend quality time with the developers and their vision and what are the end results, whether it's part of a real estate development, is it to benefit the sale of the mansions, the villas, or whatever it is. So we need to we need to put those into perspective. And then we get involved with the community, the local community. We hear stories. We go to different corners, taste food, look at this retail store, look at the stories around the corners in that local community. And then we go ahead and, we engage with a brand backslash design firm. I don't want to mention a name, but I mean, there are a lot of great ones, whether in the UK or the US. We submit our vision as the developer, sorry, as the concept developer and our vision and our how do we see the property and what are the details and the little things we'd like to see in the property, and then we develop together with the brand agency and design agency the whole entire culture hand in hand. And why do we have an agency that does both? Because the brand agency that's going to develop the culture will need to translate that culture or transmit that culture into the design language. So they both need to work one in one. And we go through that process, and that's the first stage that we do. So we develop a culture, and that culture comes in the document, whether it's going to be 150 pages or it's going to be 200 pages. That's not the point. The point is that we have all the elements that covers the culture of the property.
So Abdul, I'm interested to learn how, and could you speak about how you go about when you are going to a new location that is a brand is new to you, and there is maybe a greenfield project, and what is the process when you are discussing with the landowner or the investor how to develop a project that will also incorporate the cultural aspects that you are talking about, the design, etc. So you can speak about that, so we understand your thinking about how you go about in developing new projects.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I have two examples where there are two ways we're doing. Usually for the most part of it, our properties, the hotel properties we develop are in more of real estate development destinations. That's a gated community plus a whole entire leisure, retail, and a hotel. But in some cases, we've also done urban in an urban setting where we've developed a boutique hotel of 30 keys in the middle of the city, where it's more like a Soho hip neighborhood. In that case, when it's an urban property and within the neighborhood like Soho or any hip neighborhood, usually it's an existing building that the owner has acquired, and pretty much it's gutted down, but design has not even branding or design has not commenced yet, and we usually come in as the first to be on board to come on board and then present a few brand agencies and designers and brand and start working on the capital investment and obviously the other details. So in that case, the first thing we do is we start with the whole entire brand process. And usually I prefer to work with an agency that does both brand and design because culture is key and culture needs to be both in brand and in design. And we commence the story with looking at the property where it's located and its neighboring areas and the location of the property itself in terms of the culture of the street, the culture of the neighbor, the retail part of it, the food restaurant, independent restaurant part of it, the music part of it, the lifestyle of the whole entire neighborhood. And that is already a culture on its own. So that neighborhood is a culture. So we take that culture of the neighborhood and we kind of uh, infuse it or transmit it into the property, but not entirely, because we want the brand also to contain at least an independent complement to the neighborhood itself. So we go with the brand about 60%. If I have to do it in a percentage size, I will say we will take 40% of the neighborhood, infuse it into the property, and 60% of the brand culture will be independent of its own, yet complementary to the destination where it is. And we developed the brand through that process, where obviously, whether it's a uniform and all those details will be complementary to the neighborhood itself. But again, that 60% independence is the brand itself. Let's call it, for instance, Hotel Joe. So it has to be, or let's call it the Foundry. So it has to be within the story of the Foundry. What is the Foundry? Where is the story of the Foundry? The details of the Foundry. So we develop a story of a Foundry that's complementary to the neighborhood, and what the Foundry is as an independent culture to the property itself. And then we create a character. So we humanize the property through the brand culture itself. We create characters, personality to the brand, language to the brand, form of communication to the brand, the way people speak, the way people act, the way people's attitudes are. We believe in individuality. We don't want to humanize people. We don't want them to be anything else but themselves. So we're firm believers of that in any property we develop. So individuality is key, character is key. So we develop a culture through that, and usually in those cases is we primarily look at the culture itself and how will that culture be very easy to infuse into the human capital. And then in tandem, we work with the design language of the property. So these are the first stages we do.
Good. Now, then the actual operation and of the property when it's completed, is that can be handled as an independent brand, or is it going to be handed over through an agreement with one of the commercial hotel companies who will operate it?
Okay, in the cases we've done and the properties that we have developed, actually it is independent hotels that are run by owners.
Okay.
And they appoint a general manager that reports to the holding company. In most cases, it's like, it's a private equity company that has a few holdings, in different industries, but they have a division where it's hospitality run by one managing director and a few teams, and then they have 1, 2 to 3 properties, and usually the general manager would report to those to the person in charge of hospitality. That's the case, but never we have made a property that has that independent personality, independent individuality, character, and culture that's ever been part of a brand, because in most cases it doesn't work that way. But we have been involved in a process where we've been asked if we know if we can suggest a hotel company, whether it's luxury, traditional luxury lifestyle or boutique, that would come and operate a property for an upcoming development. We've been in those cases or in those situations where we've been asked by a potential client. But the actual concepts we do are independent concept. It has its own culture, its own values, philosophy, and design and look and feel. And it's very, very difficult for anyone to acquire it, because if they do acquire it to be run by one of the lifestyle hotels of the giants, then you know what, we're gonna go back to the same thing that I've been always arguing about, is that you're gonna kill the authenticity, you're gonna lose the culture, and we're gonna go back again into the autopilot properties where you press the button and in and out, and then everything else is on collateral and billboards.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, so how do you see? I mean, when we look at the comp set and the competitive set of a particular hotel that you have conceptualized and so on, it runs independently. What normally in that, if it's in an urban environment, what kind of comp set do these hotels have? I mean, I'm asking very generally just to understand that who are the when the customers are choosing the location where they're going to stay, they have obviously a wonderful choice to stay in one of those hotels that you have conceptualized, and it's an independent hotel. They have other hotels in the area. In terms of comparable, in terms of luxury experience or whatever it is, who is the comp set in if you would have to name few?
Would you like me to mention the brands or
Yeah, you can. Yes,
Okay.
sure.
All right. So it's very simple, actually. We're very fortunate because we're a very well-rounded team. We have excellent F&B, excellent culinary, excellent operation, excellent vision team, excellent brand culture and design agencies that we work with. So we're very well-rounded. So having said that, we are in the luxury segment. The properties we have developed for our clients have done very well in terms of ADR and RevPAR. And additionally, that any properties we've done in terms of the competitive set, we have competed even with less number of rooms. We've competed with the traditional luxury hotel companies. To mention in terms of rate, up there with a Four Season property or a Mandarin in terms of the room rates. And we've done very well in getting the occupancy up.
So I think I would be interested to understand uh, when you hire and train with this particular brand in mind, how do you ensure the leadership and the staff at the new properties embody the brand's culture and values? Because it's obviously the key that it's not only the manual and the vision that has been created, but actually get them on board and the kind of training programs that need to be put in place in order that it actually that the result is exactly what the vision was.
And that's another excellent question. And I'm going to go back to the values and fundamentals I have mentioned with Harvest Cottontail. Yes, we put up great hotel concepts in F&B, but again, at the end of the day, that a great training and a very solid training and a great selection of ladies and gentlemen or people, it wouldn't be a success. So we do have an extensive hands-on training program in place that we do, whether it's in rooms, food and beverage, or back of the house, or finance, marketing, etc. So we have a very structured process that goes up to 60 days prior to pre-opening. Remember, we don't do properties for less than 200 keys. We don't do properties for more than 200 keys. We do properties from 120 to 200 keys. We want to remain true to ourselves and our culture. So the hands-on trainings are done on a longer period because of one simple reason. We don't look at resumes and hire people that have experiences at X hotel or one another luxury hotel, etc. We don't want to inherit cultures. This is key. We don't want to inherit cultures of other properties. If I'm going to go and tell you my deliverables and authenticity need to be there, then I need to be true to myself and say I'm not going to inherit people from other cultures. So what we're looking for, first of all, is attitude and leadership. And leadership does not stop only becoming a leader, a great leader as a general manager, because you could have that charisma and leadership, whether you're a doorman or a server or an agent, and sense of ownership. So having said that, we usually prefer that people that have somehow some experience in the hospitality industry, but not necessarily with a hotel background, and have also other interests than just working in the hospitality industry, which I mean that, I usually prefer whether we hire in F&B or in rooms or anywhere else, is individuals that have a lot of personal interest, meaning by a photographer, has interest in art, has interest in music, a jazz listener, plays music, etc. Because that's culture. And that culture, people that have culture, individuals that have a lot of culture, that are exposed to culture, because these are the individuals that are emotionally going to connect with potential customers and speak about their travels, speak about music, that are culturally developed to engage into a conversation. Nobody wants to come and meet you and say, wearing a name tag and say, I'm a gentleman that works for X hotel and I've been with the company for 20 years and all I know is like I'm a technical person. We have this property in London. We have this property in Tokyo. Who's interested anyway? Who cares? Yeah. People want to know about the destination you're in. I want to go to a great jazz bar. Do I have to go to a concierge? No, you don't have to go to a concierge. I can ask the server. He can tell me what a great jazz bar is. I can want to buy this amazing guitar that I have saved this picture on my iPhone, and I don't know where to get it. Would you know where I can get it? You know what I mean? So there's cultured individuals. We look at cultured individuals that are very, very well oriented with their neighborhood, culture of their country, and individual cultures with their music, art, opera, whatever it is. We look at these individuals. The technical part is easy. We're able. We have
Yeah.
a very good solid team that can do the technical part, and we go through the technical part and through countdown. We've had great openings, and we've had openings which have been a little bit kind of rough. But again, the key here is it takes almost another 6 to 7, 8 months on the day-to-day operations after your opening to truly, truly have culture in place and to truly, truly have operation run like a clock. But
Yeah.
again, we're not always going to run after a general manager or, as I mentioned earlier, or the managing director of the property, because we hire leaders and people that have a lot of culture, a lot of charisma, a lot of leadership, whether it's a doorman or a server. So there's a sense of ownership from the opening. So the process goes even faster.
Okay, very good. Now, I think my question is that because you're quite different to many of the hotel brands who have already are set in a certain way. There's their uniformity and so on. What are the, besides what we have talked about, what are the trends do you see happening in hospitality that hoteliers should take note of? What do you see going on? And looking at maybe at the future, where do you see it going?
I personally think, this term hotelier. I mean, I'm a hotelier also, and I've graduated from a hotel school in Switzerland, Liège, and finished up my graduate studies at the European University of Montreux. For the longest time, I've been hearing it ever since the start of my career with Hyatt in San Francisco until my last post in a hotel, hotelier, hotelier, hotelier. I think it had just became so uniformed that it is sort of, sorry to say it, but modern day, stripped out of your individuality and character, and you belong to this group called hotelier. I personally think hoteliers need to be stripped from the part that they're hoteliers. They need to become individuals that are passionate, that have a lot of personality, have character, they can voice their opinion. Unfortunately, when throughout my travels, whether I visit a Mandarin or a Rosewood or a Four Seasons, they look all the same. I mean, seriously, they all look the same whether they're in lobby or public spaces. And it's no offense to anyone, but it's the truth. I think it's important to be true to yourself as a hotelier moving forward. Be you. You don't need to be anyone else. You don't need to be part of I'm a Ritz Carlton ambassador, or I'm a Four Seasons ambassador, or I'm a Mandarin Oriental ambassador. Well, that's Mandarin Oriental, Four Seasons, and Ritz Carlton are one thing. They have their own culture, their own philosophies and values, and you are, as an individual, you have values and philosophy that you live by every day. So you need to inspire. You need to inspire people. You're in a leadership position. You need to inspire people. You need to support people and, inspire the future generations to truly become themselves. It's important to be authentic.
I'm interested now you have a great vision for what you're doing, and now the kind of legacy you like to leave behind, because you're doing it for quite some long time. How do you see yourself in terms of the legacy aspect of your work?
Sure, but on that note, when you ask me about the hoteliers, I think the hotelier needs to be himself today. That we live in times right now, they all look alike. So
Yeah.
I think individuality is key. Authenticity is being yourself.
Yeah.
And whether you fit in a brand or another brand, that brand shouldn't be you. You should be complementary to the brand, and you should be an individual that has a lot of personality and character. And that's what a customer or a targeted audience is looking for in experiencing when he visits your property. But we just live in the sea of sameness from the properties, and there's no criticism to anybody. I'm just being outspoken about a vision that I live by and values I live by, and I want to be true to the industry I'm passionate about. But it's not criticism to anybody. I think there are a lot of great hoteliers, a lot of great companies, but we live in times where everything started to look the same. And you cannot differentiate it, whether it's a lifestyle hotel, luxury hotel, or even a hotelier. So my thing is, hoteliers moving forward, they need to be to themselves. You don't need to look like anyone else. Just be you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one. My vision moving forward. Look, I've been very fortunate, to be quite honest with you. First of all, is I'm very blessed that I have gone to a prestigious hotel school in my early years. Had the opportunity to work in 4 continents with great brands, Hyatt, Ritz Carlton, and Cambell Gray, and I worked with MGM. I worked with some great hoteliers that have taught me and inspired me. both in U.S. and Asia Pacific. So I've been very, very blessed. Now, and throughout the process that I've worked in that corporate world, it taught me and it showed me that who really I am and what I'm looking for. And I ended up working, and then I found out that I'm an entrepreneur. I have this entrepreneurial spirit. I have this leadership, and I felt like, at one point that I would do my own company. So I'm very happy and very blessed to have my very own company. And seriously, it's like I've never worked a day in my life because I'm in love with what I do, and I do it every day in and out with a lot of love and passion. And and it's seen in the properties we do, in the business we do, and the partners we work with, whether it's a brand agency or a design agency or a developer. So moving forward, you asked me a question. I'm pretty happy to have my name that signed with Harvest Hotels project. That it's my very own. It has a little bit of me, a little bit of my personality, my character, my vision, and happy to go visit these different restaurants and different hotels that we've done and see a little bit of me, and what great it is to be working in an industry your whole entire life. And we know that we put in a lot of hours and you dedicate your life to the industry, except to just witness at one point of your career that there's a little bit of you in every product you develop, whether it's a restaurant or hotel.